Hello guys, this is your inspirational nurse, and today I have 3 top worst things that happened to me as a travel nurse and 3 best things that happened to me as a travel nurse. So keep watching if you are super interested, and welcome to the inspiration community. I'm glad to have you all, and I really appreciate your support. So let's talk about number 1 worst thing that happened to me as a nurse, period. Was that I had someone in admin delay my graduation, literally my bachelor's. I was literally working on my project in the hospital, and I had a specific project that I wanted to do, and I knew exactly what I wanted to tackle. I had to do actual research. Y'all already know, but for those who did their bachelor's, it was a lot. And I was doing it in the ER, and I had this policy and things that I wanted to work on as far as a certain thing. And guys, I literally remember getting a hard time, and the person was like, "Oh no, I'm used to doing this with other students, and I usually pick something and something a little simpler and da 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 da." Anyway, the nerd just slow down the progress so that way I cannot progress up. Now, the conclusion of this, guys, is that they literally thought, because I had people come to me and tell me that it was my age and that they thought I was moving up to management. At the time, guys, I was just a regular staff, new nurse, still learning, probably 2 to 3 years in. And guys, I literally did not want to be a manager because I didn't like mine. So I was like, no way. And that's what their perception was. The second thing, guys, was that I had providers that were not so responsive to when I asked them to do something. I had a patient that was bleeding out after having their wounds clean and debris. Y'all know what usually happens behind that. And I went to call for help and follow the policies on how to do that. And the doctor refused to come and decided, hey, I'm not coming right now, and sat down and everything. And I remember going in, literally lost it. Patient was bleeding so much that it soaked through the mattress and was leaking all over the floor. And just laid there. Never used the call bell, but this place was a little sketchy anyway. I was on a travel assignment there. And I was just felt so bad because when a patient bleeds, that is very painful. And the extent of her wounds, I know that it was a lot of blood lost. So I went down there and said, if you don't get your, oh yeah, yes I did, and then I repent after, but I definitely went there. So that was one of the second thing that usually happened, and I let those doctors know, anytime I ask you to do something, you better do it. The third thing, guys, was my second week as a new nurse and coming out of nursing school, first job, and I called a DIC. The patient had surgery and was getting ready to go home, and was a young patient, young kids, walking around, walkie-talkie. And I looked at my patient and I was like, oh no. And I canceled transportation, immediately called the surgeon, immediately called the nurse practitioner that was on the case. And I was told no. I asked for a quick lab or a quick scan or something because I just had a feeling that something bad was happening. Still new nurse, so I'm following policies and protocols and everything. And I let the charge nurse know, and they still said no and told me to just watch her. Guys, less than 5 minutes, I went to check on my patient because she was no longer in the hallway and she was in the room, sitting in a corner, blue, looked very like she was just crashing so fast that she kept pointing to the bathroom. So guys, I'm trying to get her up to this bathroom. Literally, guys, I have never seen so much blood in my life. This lady bled from everywhere. I even looked at her belly. It was like she was having a whole baby because she told me about her children. And I'm trying to get a new line to her, which I don't know how I managed to get a new line to her, guys. I don't know how I did that. The husband was an EMT, so trying to put oxygen on her. He's panicking. I had to kind of put him to the side. I'm yelling at him. I'm trying to get her to the bed, and she was bleeding so much internally that she started to go mental on me. I'm calling to see if we can still get a scan to see where the bleeding is coming from, and they refused to take her because they were scared she was going to die. And literally, I left the room for the first time of dealing with the situation to see if I can get help. And literally, guys, everybody was outside crying outside the room, talking about, is the patient going to die? The surgeon was crying. The nurse practitioner was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I remember yelling at them and said, when I tell you to order something, you better order it. And I went there with them, and the surgeon was like, I don't know what to do. I can't believe this is happening. And I told him, I said, you have to go in, and you are the surgeon. You have to go in and fix whatever the problem is. Unfortunately, she still needs a scan. And he's like, okay, let's get a consent. I'm like, you don't need a consent, because actually this is an emergency situation. Guys, long story short, when she had her surgery and was fixed, the hospital was trying to be nice enough to let me discharge her officially this time. I mean, it was a traumatic situation. They was trying to figure out how I knew she was bleeding and all this, being a new nurse, and just instead of just focusing on the patient had complications, and she was not the same. I swear, when I talked to her, y'all, she was so bubbly, she was so friendly, and now she just looked so depressed. She had a bag. I mean, she lost so much blood that she had some complication. It hurt my heart to see the delay in care. And ever since then, I had them at my fingertips, and I held every doctor accountable ever since from that point on. So she helped me to find my voice in nursing, because guys, some hospitals you work in, especially big ones, sometimes you can get lost. Sometimes they don't listen to you because you're a new grad. They think you don't know nothing. When God prepares you, sometimes you be well prepared for the scenario. And there's So everybody was just so impressed, and then I got an award for it. But at the same time, I was so hurt because my team did not trust me to do what I was supposed to do as the nurse, the primary nurse. That was the painful part behind that. Guys, the best thing that happened to me, guys, was I had a homeless patient that they wanted to kick out, and the lady was, I remember, COVID positive. And I remember telling the manager on that unit that I felt like the patient was up to something, or was going to fall or do something to stay, and can we at least give resources to her so she can get the help that she needs once she discharges. The manager automatically yelled at me and was like, no, we don't care, that get her out, the hospital wants her out, da 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 da. Guys, I talked to a friend, and we got this homeless lady free hotel stay, free food, and free clothing for a week, and she cried like a baby. We all cried like a baby, hugged her so tight, because I said, when did we stop caring? When did we stop treating these people like they're numbers? And I remember yelling at the doctors about it, and they were like, you know what, one doctor would say, you know what, you're right, and I'm listening to you, and you know what, I'm going to put this in a newsletter, because I think all the doctors need to know that we need to step it up. And I was like, oh my God, the doctors was a hot mess. Another thing that happened, guys, so that was one thing that I was proud about, because I was able to voice my opinion. I was able to get the lady help, and keep her from falling, and keep things from happening from that day on. And she literally was in the hotel right across the street from the hospital, y'all. So look how God worked when you do God's work. So don't let the enemy make you fearful or make you silent. As a nurse, part of being a nurse is this is a ministry, whether you like it or not, and you are definitely helping other people. I mean, on all sorts of levels, not just with their physical health, with their whole wellness and their well-being. So guys, that was one of the best things, that one of the highlights, I think, of my career, was able to do that. Another thing, guys, one of the things that I got to experience that was a good outcome, guys, when I was managing, and literally I had a patient's family daughter come to me and was crying in tears. Her mom was dying. She needed hospice care, and she went to everybody in the building, and I was the last stop. She said no one would listen to her, no one would give her the services. And I was like, wait, what happened? And she said, I'm trusting you to please take care of this. My mom is dying. I need the services. And guys, I went outside of the company to get her the best hospice care that I thought would be the best fit for the patient. And I remember being ridiculed for not using the company's hospice team, because guys, they were slow to respond. The hospice team that I got this lady was so quick. They were there the same day to see the patient, got her admitted, took care of everything that the daughter needed, all the supplies, and the mom passed 2 days later of joining the hospice team. And my boss was like trying to threaten me, or kind of trying to say like, oh, people are going to frown down on you for not using the company's resources. And I'm like, well, I did look at it, but it wasn't a good option for the patient. So why not just be happy that the patient had a good outcome, rather than worrying about what services I'm using? So guys, even if you are in leadership, there's so much more to being in leadership. There's so much more politics, and so much more of the dark side and enemy and things like that you have to fight against. So don't think either that certain positions are going to allow you to just do whatever or whatever without something happening behind that. So that was just a good outcome, and it was one of the highlights, again, as being a new manager, a young one, and I was able to do that for her. So what y'all think about my worst and good things that happened to me in nursing? I know y'all probably got some, so y'all go ahead and share.